Chapter 14, Karna. Kaurav military camp. Karna entered his tent after the long war council meeting and sat down on a seat before untying his large blood-stained armors and coat of mail. Then he reached into his private belongings and took out a cloth, rolled up in form of a scroll. This scroll, wax-sealed with the impression of a palm tree, had been given to him by one of the servants of grandsire Bhishma after his death. The deliverer has said that it had been given by the grandsire himself with the instruction to deliver to Karna in the event of the old man's death. Karna had read it several times before and now looked at the hieroglyphic-like symbols on it once more. The meaning of them were: "If you are reading this, Karna, it means that I have been killed in battle. I have been rude to you all my life and I have labeled you worthless in comparison to Arjun or the other Pandavas. None of them I meant truly. I only wanted to dishearten you and make you give up hope of fighting this war. This is not because I have anything against you, boy. I know your true parentage and perhaps because of that sinful birth, you have been so sinful. You hate Arjun the most and I wanted to stop brother killing brother in this battle, but I now see that it is a fool's hope. After I am gone, you will surely fight, and when you do so, I hope you keep righteousness in your mind. Make peace with the Pandavas or do your warrior's duty to the fullest. All my ammunition are at your disposal. Kuru grandsire, Devrat Bhishma." Karna looked up from the letter and glanced into the oblivion thoughtfully. If there was anyone whose fate has been against them throughout their life, it was Karna. His true parents had seemingly abandoned him after his birth, and throughout his life, he felt that he had always been discriminated against, owing to the mixed caste in which he was reared. When only Arjun was given advanced training in archery by Drona, with knowledge of special weapons, Karna expressed his desire for the same, so that he can be equal to or better than his rival, Arjun. But unable to support his reasons, Drona refused him, saying that such power can only be given to the worthy, like someone of the priest caste or a person of warrior caste with complete control over his senses, not to someone of mixed caste, like Karna. Karna had then left Drona, and to obtain the same training, he went to the cult of Parashuram. From fear of being refused again, he pretended to be of the priest caste and learnt all he wanted. Later his lie was found out, and he was exiled by the cult, with all the advanced weapons given to him taken away. Since then, Karna had fought all his battles, using makeshift and borrowed weapons, but even so he believed that he was better than Arjun. But he was never allowed by his fate to prove that. By luck and sometimes aided by his brothers, time and again, Arjun has proved himself better than him, no matter how hard he tried. Apart from Arjun, Karna was the only one worthy of completing the archery challenge and get the dark and stunningly beautiful Draupadi as his wife. But that prideful woman refused his mixed caste and did not even let him try. In marriage too, Arjun beat him and the Pandavas got to share the princess who he desired. Karna wanted her to suffer, along with her husbands, and the game of dice gave him that opportunity. It had been so satisfying to him seeing the pride of that woman shattered, and it was he who brought her humiliation. After all, did that woman not humiliate him in the assembly of warriors when she refused him, and yet they call only him and the Kauravas sinful? Now all that was left for him was to shatter that Arjun's pride by defeating and killing him in battle. It doesn't matter that his infallible arrow had been expended. He still was skillful enough to do the job, and because of that, Duryodhan has trusted him with the duty of the next generalissimo after Drona. For over a year, he had been practicing and performing deeds of kindness, giving alms indiscriminately to have the blessings of the gods. He would need his fate by his side if he had to win this one. But the tide was still against Karna, and his entire life had been shaken when he learnt the truth about his birth. When Krishna had visited Hastinapur before the war as a peace ambassador who had, of course, been refused, he had pulled Karna aside and told him that he was the bastard son of Kunti, mother of the Pandavas. Before her marriage to Pandu, she had been in a relationship with a prince of the Solar dynasty who had died in a war after impregnating her. In fear of the scandal, Kunti abandoned Karna right after birth, leaving with him the only souvenir of his father, that Kunti had a coat of mail. Krishna offered Karna the choice to join the Pandavas, who would accept him gladly as their brother after knowing the truth. But Karna refused because he was not willing to make friends with the archenemy, abandoning his friend in need, Duryodhan. Later, Kunti had also come to Karna to beg for the life of her sons and to convince him to join the Pandavas, but he had remained steadfast in his former decision. That woman had abandoned him when he was a newborn and had no right to his motherhood. And besides, if he joined the enemy at the eve of a war, people would call him a coward. But since Karna had vowed not to refuse a beggar, he responded to Kunti's begging by promising her that he would spare all her sons in battle, except Arjun, his archenemy. That is the reason why he had let Bhim go, even after overpowering him. But apparently the Pandavas did not know how Karna was related to them, and it was for the best. Pandav military camp. The healers were working overtime that night, tending to the mass damage of the soldiers caused by the weapon of Ashwatthama. Even though Arjun's vow was fulfilled with the death of Jaydrath and their greatest antagonist, the formidable drone had been removed from their path, yet the Pandavas were too grieved to enjoy their moment of triumph. The last few days had exacted a heavy toll on their side. First Abhimanyu and now Ghatotkacha, two of the most precious persons to the Pandavas and the former a cherished jewel of the Yadav clan too, were taken from them. The warriors, commanders and Krishna had no words to console either Arjun or Bhim. Arjun had obtained part of his vengeance, but Bhim would be avenged when Karna will be killed. Many would be avenged with the end of that sinful friend of Kaurav's, and now it would be necessary as, according to spies, Karna had been chosen the next generalissimo of the Kauravas by Duryodhan and supported by Ashwatthama. The war was still far from over. Amidst the Kuru Field, next day, Karna used long polished arrows against his foes as his chariot with the flag depicting an elephant trope moved through the crowd of warriors on the 16th day of the war. He came face to face with the fourth Pandav, Nakul, and they engaged, blocking each other's shafts and shooting at the enemy. Bhim was locked with Ashwatthama, Duryodhan against Yudhisthira, Drishtadyumna with Kripa, Shikundi struggling Kritavarma, and Arjun was holding his ground against the Samsaptaks of Trigarta, led by Sushama. With both armies reduced greatly to nearly equal numbers, one-on-one battles had become more pronounced. Meanwhile, the sons of Draupadi handled the forces of Abhisar clans and felled their commanders, while Sahadev was fighting Dushasan. "You are the root of all our miseries," Nakul threatened Karna. "I will kill you now and do my warrior's duty." "Less talk and more fight, please," Karna said and shot his arrows at Nakul, which he blocked and returned in kind. One of those arrows came and cracked Karna's bow, the owner being surprised at his foe's agility. He then took up another bow swiftly and hit dead the charioteer of Nakul, before also breaking the axle of his moving chariot and killing the horses. With the vehicle overturned and totaled, throwing its rider off it, Nakul recovered from the ground and began running towards safety. But Karna's chariot chased him and Karna hooked Nakul by the neck using his bow. "You are no match for me. Go, run to your elder brothers," Karna said, as Nakul tried to free the bowstring from around his neck. Karna released him and Nakul ran away, humiliated in battle, while the new Kaurav generalissimo kept his promise to Kunti. He directed his attention and weapons elsewhere, quite mercilessly. The Pandav soldiers that lived the assault of his and his army were pursued and shot on the back. Meanwhile, Yudhisthira strongly resisted Duryodhan, the keen sense of competitiveness for thrown clear in both of them. Yudhisthira looked informed that day, and seeing his biggest antagonist before him was so enraged that blocking his enemy's arrow, he shot a series of shafts, one by one, killing the horses, beheading the charioteer and cutting down the flag with the symbol of elephant of Duryodhan, rendering his vehicle useless. Duryodhan alighted on another vehicle and using his arrow cut off Yudhisthira's bow. With eyes reddened in anger, Yudhisthira too with a new bow broke Duryodhan's recurve with his arrows, and Duryodhan picked up a mace, rushing at the eldest Pandav. At this, Yudhisthira took up a spear and hurled it at the incoming enemy with such force that the tip broke through the Kaurav's bronze armor and sent him to the ground with the mace flying out of his grip. However, the wound was not fatal, and soon Duryodhan recovered himself and found his enemy engaged with the warriors who had rushed to his aid. Arjun and the division following him, after killing a large number of Samsaptaks, had come for Duryodhan. Afflicting the Kaurav's chariot greatly and incapacitating him, Arjun was faced with Ashwatthama, who came for the protection of Duryodhan. Arjun killed the horses of Ashwatthama and broke the bow of Dushasan, who was speeding towards him. Then he also hit Karna with his arrows, some of which got around his shield and wounded him, but not enough. At this moment, the sun set and the battle ended for that day. Kaurav military camp. Karna sat at the head of the war council, a supposed cursed seat, since the two former generalissimos who occupied the space were no more. The battle seemed to be at an impasse today, some of the commanders said, and Arjun's arrows baffled everyone. Karna sighed and said, "I will face Arjun tomorrow, armed with my bow, the Vijay, and I will kill him. I am better than him in every aspect, but if his charioteer is better than mine, then it will create problems. I must match Arjun in every way, weapons, chariots, steeds, driver, everything. And if there is anyone on our side who is an expert on horses, it is King Shalya. I want him to be my charioteer for tomorrow." Duryodhan turned to Shalya, starting, "Great king of Madra, if you—" "How dare you," Shalya said angrily, rising from his seat. "You ask me to be the driver of that lowly mixed caste. Do you consider me inferior to him?" No, Duryodhan said to salvage the situation. "That's not what I mean. I ask this because, as rightly pointed out by my friend, you are adept at driving horses. You are the only one in our midst who is perhaps equal or even better than that Yadav Krishna who drives Arjun." Shalya let out a breath and replied, "If really that is the reason, then I will adhere. But let your friend know that I would speak my mind whenever I want, because neither he nor you, to whose hospitality I am indebted, have any power over my speech." As Karna and the war council accepted Shalya's word without much thought, Shalya knew that the job given to him by Yudhishthira had been accomplished. During the mobilization, when Shalya and his army had unknowingly accepted the Kaurav hospitality on their way to join the Pandavs, his virtue compelled him to join the Kauravs and pay the debts incurred. When he had told Yudhishthira about this, the eldest Pandav expressed neither anger nor frustration. He had only asked Shalya to do one favor for him. Yudhishthira knew that amongst all those on the Kaurav side who could stand toe-to-toe with Arjun in archery, Karna was the most hateful towards them. To keep his brother protected from his evil archenemy, Yudhishthira asked for Shalya's help. The wise Pandav knew that Shalya was the only match for Krishna in terms of horse maneuvering, and it was only a matter of time before Karna would choose Shalya as his charioteer. Yudhishthira's request to Shalya was that, when such an event occurred, Shalya must, by his sharp tongue and demeaning speech, dishearten Karna and make him lose confidence before Arjun. It was a fitting vengeance for the harsh speeches by which he had demeaned the sinless Draupadi. Knowing that things were going according to plan, Shalya sat back down accepting his new position, while Dushasan asked Karna, "Your infallible arrow is gone. How do you expect to send that prideful archer to the house of death?" Karna smiled and from the folds of his robes brought out a vial which he held before his eyes. Opening the lid, he displayed the purple liquid inside it, before quickly shutting it again. "I have diverse weapons," Karna said, still holding the vial, "but the foremost of them tomorrow will be this, the object given to me for the sole purpose of killing Arjun." "What is that?" Duryodhan asked, at which Karna replied without taking his eyes off the vial, "Ashwasna, the horse army. One drop of it administered to the blood is capable of killing an entire army of horses. Then what of Arjun? When laden with this poison, my arrow will strike him."
To be continued. Stay tuned for the next chapter.